New questions, of course, in the Susan Rice case. Susan Rice going on the record moments ago insisting she did nothing wrong by unmasking the names of Trump team members in intelligence reports. This was just an everyday thing, apparently. Business as usual. Here she is.
The allegation is that somehow Obama administration officials utilized intelligence for political purposes. That's absolutely false. Over 8 years, for me and others who served, it was not uncommon. In fact, it was necessary at times to make those requests to find out the identity of U.S. officials on every topic under the sun when it seemed relevant. I don't have a particular recollection of doing that more frequently after the election, for example, than doing so before.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. One member of Congress certainly isn't buying what she's got to say, at least not now, at least not at face value. He wants a criminal investigation into Ms. Rice and her alleged moves. For more, I'm joined by that very congressman, Republican Congressman Ron DeSantis of Florida. Good to have you here, Congressman.
Hi.
What's your fear? What do you worry may have actually transpired?
Well, she said that intelligence wasn't used for political purposes. We know that's false because there were a number of leaks of classified information involving U.S. persons, including Michael Flynn, that are illegal. Nobody really disputes that. So the question is where did that information emanate from? And was the information that was unmasked by Susan Rice the same information that was put out to the New York Times, Washington Post to try to kneecap politically the Trump transition and then the Trump administration? And I think she dug herself more of a hole because 2 weeks ago she said she never had heard of any type of unmasking.
By the way, do we have that sound? We might have that sound that you're referring to. It was a PBS interview.
Right.
I'm just asking the producers. Not yet, but we're working on it. She did, in fact, act as though she knew nothing about any of this back then, Congressman.
And so now she's acknowledging unmasking happened, and she's acknowledging that leaks occurred. Now, she's saying she didn't do anything wrong. But I think people have to ask themselves, why would the National Security Advisor need to unmask information of this nature? Understand, she's a White House official. They're not conducting the investigation, whatever investigation, out of the White House. That's the purview of the FBI. You have other agencies who deal with this, NSA, CIA. So the fact that somebody like Susan Rice, who's really tied at the hip with President Obama, was the one doing it, to me, that is very suspicious, and I think we need to have this fully vetted. I mean, I've been supportive of the FBI looking at the leaking because I think that that's serious, but if there's a connection between the leaking and the unmasking, I think you have a major, major abuse of power on your hands.
We do have that sound for the viewers. So here is Susan Rice explaining to PBS just a couple of weeks ago she didn't know anything about anything. Here we go.
I know nothing about this. I was surprised to see reports from Chairman Nunes on that count today. I really don't know to what Chairman Nunes was referring, but he said that whatever he was referring to was a legal, lawful surveillance, and that it was potentially incidental collection.
And now, of course, Congressman, she's saying that this was just, par for the course and they unmasked names all the time. I guess if you take her at face value, and we can get to whether or not one should, given her Benghazi history in a moment, but if you take it at face value, Congressman, you say, all right, she unmasked these names because for whatever reason she felt it was important for herself to know who they were surveilling. How does it then make its way to, say, the New York Times?
Well, that's $1 million question. And there was clearly a concerted effort by Obama administration officials, former officials, to disseminate this information to the press. And it's led to a lot of these extravagant stories that don't necessarily have a lot of meat on the bone, but allow for splashy headlines from papers that are opposed to President Trump. And so I don't think that happened by accident. And although she claims that she has the ability to unmask, I think that's probably true. The question is why would she have need to? If it wasn't for political purposes, what was the reason? She didn't really give a reason as to why that would needed to have been done.
Okay, let me ask you, while I have you here,